Hello, friends. Greetings to you. Today, I want to welcome you to another episode of Time for Reckoning. I want to talk a bit today about motivation. The word motivation speaks to that which drives a person, that which causes one to be singularly focused on a goal, a desire, a destination, a cause, a career, a profession, etc., etc. Motivation to a person is like an engine to a car. A car is driven by its engine. Without the engine, the only way that car can be moved, it have to be pushed, pulled, towed, but certainly it will not be made to move by itself on its own. Why? Because it has no engine. A person who lacks motivation in a similar way is going to have to be pushed or forced to do something. Some persons are described as being self motivated. Others find their motivation from something that they might have read, from listening to someone, maybe watching a movie, maybe reading a book, an article in a newspaper, someone's life story, etc., etc. It is very important that each of us ask ourselves, what motivates me? By what am I motivated? By what am I driven? This is especially important for young people, for youths. Youths who are at school should ask themselves, what motivates me? So let me ask you, young people, what is your motivation? It is critically important that young people be motivated because without motivation, your road ahead is going to be that much more difficult, complicated, if not unlikely. So ask yourself, what's my motivation? If you are not self motivated, then you can be motivated by the aforementioned things, things that you read, things that you see, things that you hear. But it's critically important that each young person finds their motivation. A person who is self motivated perhaps is the better of the lot because You do not need external factors to motivate you. You are self motivated. Those who are self motivated can be motivated for a number of reasons. Maybe they're motivated by their ambition. They might just have this innate desire to be maybe a teacher, a nurse, a lawyer, a veterinarian, a scientist, a builder, an architect, a chemist. You find yourself with that urge from within to aspire toward those goals or that goal. And so you are self motivated. You have some persons who may have fallen ill and may require a medical surgery. The surgery may be complicated, and when that person see how important the work of the surgeon is, they might become motivated to become a surgeon themselves. And there are so many stories of persons like that. A person might see a police officer carry out a protective operation that saves lives and might tell themselves, I want to be a police officer. Maybe they might look at someone who is in the fire service, who have gone almost beyond the call of human possibility to save someone's life or to save a house from total destruction. And a young person might tell themselves, I would like to be a fire officer. So you can appreciate the point I am making, that people can find motivation from external sources and factors if they are not self motivated. It is critically important that parents try to encourage their children to be motivated. How can you do that? Well, you can simply ask your child or your children, what's your motivation? What motivates you? Some children are motivated by their parents' example. For example, we often see children whose parents are teachers become teachers. Children whose parents are lawyers become lawyers. Accountants become accountants, etc., etc. Parents can be a very good source of motivation for their children. Of course, on the negative side, we have seen where there are some parents that have bad habits and the children gravitate toward those as well. But let's keep this positive, that parents need to recognize that if they set positive examples, if they are good role models for their children can find motivation in the example set by their parents. As adults, it is important that we bear in mind that we can influence the motivation of young people. As a consequence of that, we should at all times endeavor to set a good example that can serve as a motivation for those who looks on. For example, kind words from a caring adult can serve as motivation for a young person. A good word of advice from caring adults can certainly point a young person in a direction that they will spend the rest of their life in. So it behooves all of us to be mindful of how we deport ourselves, especially in the presence of young people. Sometimes a young person might see a police officer and they may have used poor judgment, they may have misbehaved themselves, and in a fatherly or motherly way, the officer might take that young person and might scold that person in a kind way, in a meaningful way. And that sets that young person on a pathway of maturity and a pathway of better consciousness and a pathway that caused their motivation to be turned on, because it's as though some person's desire to be motivated is turned off. So, whatever role we play, whether we are parents, whether we are just professionals, we must bear in mind that we can influence the motivation of those around us. Employers, by their kind words, their mature way of dealing with their employee, can certainly motivate them to be better workers, to be more reliable in the workplace. So we must endeavor to help to motivate others in positive ways. Teachers are usually very influential in motivating children. In fact, teachers sometimes play such a meaningful role in the lives of children that children will even dispute with their parents and tell the parents, my teacher said. Yes, teachers play a very meaningful role in the lives of children. Sometimes teachers can be very mean, though, and can be very unkind in their expression. Sometimes not intentional. Sometimes teachers will say things to children that deflates them. But sometimes some mean things said to students by teachers, though negative, serves as a motivation. For example, you will hear some children tell you that they were motivated to pick themselves up and to be their better selves when their teacher tell them, boy or girl, you will never come to anything. That jolts them. That caused them to wake up and want to prove that they can be something. And they do become something of worth. So it is critically important that we are mindful of what we say. Sometimes parents say mean things to their children too. Sometimes parents speak condemningly to their children, call them the most negative names. And sometimes those things, though negative, also serve to motivate some children. Just want to prove the person wrong. We don't know exactly what will motivate someone in a positive way. It's hard to know. But there's an old saying that you can catch more flies with sugar than you can with vinegar. So, in other words, we do not want to depend on the few who will be stirred by negative comments to be positive. We prefer to be positive and hope that that will do the proverbial trick, as the saying goes. So I want to encourage us as parents to motivate our children, to help them to find their motivation. I want to encourage us as adults to think about setting the kind of example that will be motivating to others to be their better selves. And whatever field we work in, whether in law enforcement, whether we're artisans, whether we're teachers, we just want to make sure that what others see in us is a kind of example that is motivational for them. Let's try our best to make the world a better place. Let's try our best to make that person, that other person, a better person. And we can best do that by continuing to work on ourselves in making sure that we are continuing to train our minds, our thoughts, our desires in positive ways. We don't have to be religious to do that. It takes a maturity. It takes a maturity. It takes an understanding of what we see happening around us in the world. It takes an understanding of where we would like to see the world go. In what direction would we like to see the next generation? You know, that can motivate us to make a difference. And if we can make that difference in someone's life in a very small way, we can help to make this place a better place. I want to encourage you to share this video with those who you think can benefit from it. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. And if you have not yet done so, I want to encourage you to subscribe and to hit the like button and continue to share this information. Until the next time, so long.